The first thing that you want to do, even before you take all your tools out, is open up this kit and make sure everything is included. There's the hardware. So here's the hardware. This is going to go up inside the car itself, but the bolt is going to go first, so it slides into this hole and then locks itself into that square. This is going to face down, and then your hitch receiver goes on here, and then the nut goes on here to hold it all on. These are going to be what helps you feed everything through in an area where you wouldn't be able to get your hands or even your fingers. So it comes apart like this, then you can thread this bolt onto here. This wire is going to keep these parts from being lost into the great unknown inside your chassis, so keep these on until you have time to put this nut on. I'll find out what size socket fits on here, and then I'll show you the tools that are going to be involved in doing this project. The tools and supplies you'll need for this job will differ based on your personal preference. Like, these ramps aren't entirely necessary. I think underneath this Crosstrek there's enough room for some people to do this without ramps. If you choose to use a floor jack and jack stands, make sure you do so safely. Make sure your car doesn't roll off the jack stands. You're going to need a torque wrench that meets the torque spec for whatever your bolts need. Different kits are going to use different torque specs, so make sure you follow the directions. You're definitely going to need some extensions. I used about 6 inches with a deep well socket. If you're using a regular depth socket, then you'll probably need about 8. 12, either way is going to be better. There are some plugs you're going to have to pull out, and this pick makes it really easy. I also use some thread locker, which is optional. It doesn't say to use it in the directions, but I wanted to. This is just regular medium strength blue thread locker. I'm also using some painter's tape to hold something in place later in the video. It's optional, but it definitely makes the job a little easier. We'll also be filing to get something to fit in there properly. There's going to be holes that need to be widened just a little bit. Because we're taking some metal away and metal's going to be exposed, I'm going to spray some of this on it. It doesn't have to be this brand, but just something that's going to cover up the bare metal so it doesn't corrode or rust away as easily. Because we're working with some chemicals today, I'm going to be wearing some rubber gloves to prevent them from getting into my skin. I'm also going to be wearing these glasses. These are very vital. You are definitely going to have stuff falling. Even if your car is brand new, this file is going to be taking away metal, and if you're underneath it, that metal is going to be falling on your face. So definitely safety goggles. A creeper definitely helps too. So there's 3 rubber or plastic dots in here. This is one of them. There's another one in view, and there's one behind this metal pipe. The one behind the metal pipe we don't have to worry about, just the first and last one. Safety goggles on. Make sure this is not hot when you're touching it. Using a 90-degree pick for this. Alright, so currently these do not fit through either of these holes. But this one right here is already a little bigger. So this is where we take the file and make a slightly bigger opening. Alright, we've got our little Saturn shape going up on there. Let's see if this fits in. Yeah, that's gonna fit. And the bolt. That's gonna fit as well. And it goes in easy, but the holes aren't too wide. That's what we're looking for. Now we're going to take one of these wires, thread on a bolt. Make sure you thread it on all the way. Don't overdo it though. Then we put in one of these rectangles with the square cut out of it. We start with the line going through the little Saturn hole. There we go. And you want to pull it through the other hole. Now make sure you're not connected like this. Take the metal piece off, push it through. Alright, now the bolt. And then pull it through. Alright, that's one bolt. And remember, leave this wire on. We're going to do something very similar with the second one, but this time the bolt goes through first. There we go. Once the bolt's in, you can push it all the way through, and then push the rectangle with the square cutout through. and pull it in. There we go. That's one side done. Make sure you leave both wires, you'll still need to use them. Here we go again. I'm putting the wire through the front, feeding it to the rear with these already attached. There we go. The metal piece through first. Then the bolt. There's one. Thread on another bolt. Bolt goes through first on this one. Alright, now we have all 4 bolts through. I'm going to put some anti-rust spray on here. The area where we had to take away some metal is going to leave some unpainted exposed metal, so I'm spraying that anti-rust stuff on there so if moisture happens to get up in there, it's not going to have as easy a time rusting out that component. Now these spacers align this unit, and if you're going to put them on at all, they go on this back area here, and we are going to tape them on so they're easier to deal with when you're putting them into place. So first tape goes on there. Then another piece of tape in the back. Same with the other side. When you're doing this, make sure that the holes are lined up. Place each nut in an easy to get to spot when you have this lifted up into place. You may have to push the bolts up to get the receiver into place. So this tape didn't hold, but it did the job long enough for me to get the wire through it. This part is much easier with someone there to help you, but I'm sure a determined enough individual could finish this solo. Alright, that's one bolt. Take the wires off only as you need them off, since the bolts will be much easier to lose without that wire attached. Just don't let it drop on you, this thing is pretty heavy. Alright. There we go, that was 110 pounds-feet of torque, which is what my directions told me to do. Yours may be different, so make sure you check your instruction book to see what your torque spec is. This receiver looks good. I'll have links to it and all the stuff that I used here in the description. Consider checking out the rest of my Crosstrek content here on the Car Simplified channel. Thanks for watching.